Thank you for joining me for Where I'm From, number 45 with Miranda. What are you reading? I'm reading this amazing book, Firekeeper's Daughter. It is so good. I am it's one of those books I can't. I have a really hard time putting it down. It's so engrossing. I did finish it because it's so good. I stayed up late last night finishing it, and in it she says she loved Nancy Drew books growing up, and she wanted to write an Indigenous sort of Nancy Drew along with other things. And I hadn't really made that connection until I read that, and then I was like, yeah, it's. I mean, it's way better than it's. In my opinion, way better than Nancy Drew, but I highly recommend it. It's so good. Okay, Miranda, I am inviting you. Are you on your phone? I'm inviting you. You can also try to join. You can push the little camera in the bottom. There's a place where you push the little camera, and then you can ask to join me, or I can just keep inviting you. But that doesn't seem to be working. So, are you on your phone? That's always the question. We can also try restarting if it's not working. Oh, request to join. Ding. Hopefully this will work. It says you're unable to join. Okay. So if you are on your phone, this should work. And I don't know why it's not. Because I'm saying accept. And it is, hi, Tiffany. Hey!
Oh,
Okay. Yay. Sometimes it just does that. Or
well,
it's just like, nope.
the Instagram
What? Instagram.
allow access for like my on it, which I don't know why, because I don't know.
Okay. So
But
Instagram was gatekeeping.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
For those watching, Miranda is a real life friend. So this is like a really special treat.
Yeah.
Hi, Tiffany. Another real life friend. So who should join me here? Who I keep telling her she should join me here. So how are you, Miranda? Do you want to say anything before you read your poem?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous.
That's totally normal.
I'm good. I have a light day at work, so this day not.
So Tiffany, she's not here because you're breaking up a tiny bit, but I don't know if it's me or if it's anyone else can hear that.
Shoot.
Right. Are you in your spot? Are you in a good spot?
I can move.
Well, talk some more.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Just keep talking, Miranda.
Yeah, no, so today's a short day. Wednesdays are good. Wednesdays and Fridays are like, are you? Oh, I'm breaking up.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Okay. So it's not just me. I hear it too, Tiffany. That's why I wanted some if anyone else was hearing it. Because sometimes it's just me. And then the playback is fine.
I'm going to go into Benicio's room.
Okay.
It's going to work out of here right now.
Okay. Thanks, Benicio. You're not there to protest.
He has the best room in the house with the internet connection.
Ooh, it sounds better.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, it is better. Because I do want to hear you.
Okay.
Because I have your undivided attention, which
I know we don't get.
Since we began as mom friends and now we're just like real friends, there are always children around or dogs or both.
Yes.
Or husbands or other people. So
I know I saw you yesterday and I was like, I was on a mission.
I know. I do.
The next meeting, sorry. Hi.
That's all right. I knew. I could tell. You had an intense look on your face. And it was fine. There was no
frazzled.
Yeah, well, life. Miranda does a lot of things, everyone. I don't know if you know, but I think you do more things than anyone else. I'm not going to say a woman who has it all because I resent that phrase. Because as you know, as a social worker, having it all has a lot to do with access and resources.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Miranda is a very busy person.
Like my anxiety too. I have to
Does that help?
Be doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I start going a little nuts when I'm doing too much.
You have to find the sweet spot. Is there a sweet spot?
Yes. I have a hard time. I'm a joiner. I like to join things.
Me too.
So that's kind of like, if something's going on, if there's an opportunity, I'm like, I want to do it. I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get in over my head, and then I have to back off a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I have to be really cautious about that, because I am, especially when people are like, oh, we really need people. I'm like,
yeah,
this is not my thing.
Yeah.
I do not need to come in here and do this, to really talk myself off the ledge. No. I was proud of you that when I reached out to you, you were like, no.
Yeah. I had to say no.
I also want to say I did phrase it like, is this too much?
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to make the no easy for you. So
I get if I have to do that, I don't like collecting money.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Classes, because then I get everything. Nobody wants that.
No, I don't like it either. Would you like to read your poem?
Sure. Okay. I've changed a little bit of the
Go for it.
I'm just
will you send me if you changed it the new, so I can post the correct thing?
I think I put some punctuation. I am not a poet. So the whole punctuation side of things is hard. Okay, I'll go ahead. I am from a latchkey, from Vic's rub, or whatever it is. Thorn over 100 degrees, California. Right. I am raisins and figs in the field great grandparents worked. From summer trips, Stella and Beth, whose provisions had no end. From a teacher and a cop, a broken home. I'm from hugs and kisses, and spare the rod, spoil the child. You can be anyone you want to be, and read if you are bored. From Have you been to confession lately? From Fresno and broken Spanish. I am from tri-tip and homemade flour tortillas.
Yay! Okay. You were breaking up a little for me. Was she breaking up for you, Tiffany? Maybe it was just me. But I have the poem right here, and I love it. And the things, read if you're bored. Do you still say that?
I've told my kids that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my kids that all the time.
Yeah, because you have some big readers.
Yeah.
So I wondered if you said that. And spare the rod, spoil the child. Oh, Tiffany, yeah, she was breaking out. Your head was in a different place because you were reading the poem like you were not where you are now.
Oh.
And it shouldn't matter, but it was like I couldn't hear the words.
So scared.
The words.
Okay.
Can I read it? Sure, I can read it. Do you mind if I read it, Miranda, or do you want to read it again and give it a whirl? Okay. This is not me, everyone. This is Miranda. I am from a latchkey, from Vic's Vapo Rub for whatever ails you. Soaring heat over 100 degrees of the Central Valley. At least it's a dry heat. I am from raisins and figs, from the fields my great-grandparents worked. From summer camping trips and long sobremesas. From Stella and Jesse, whose provisions had no end. From a teacher and a cop. A broken home. I am from hugs and kisses, and spare the rod, spoil the child. You can be anyone you want to be, and read if you're bored. From stand, sit, kneel, repeat at St. Anthony's Parish. Have you been to confession lately? From Fresno and broken Spanish. I am from tri-tip and homemade flour tortillas. Yay, Miranda. Stella, I didn't know that. That almost made me choke up when I read it. So that's a family name.
Yes, that's my grandmother.
I didn't know that.
Stella and Jesse.
Stella, who lived here? Is she the one who passed on recently, or the one?
Yes. She was actually, when you said here, she was from LA. She died 2 years ago.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like, oh, family name. And Stan said, repeat. As you know, my brothers were raised Catholic and I was not. So even though I didn't do it, it still is such a familiar pattern because I've been to Catholic weddings, and it's like, oh,
Yes.
it
Yes.
seems like one of your relatives might have
Yeah.
signed on.
My aunt. My Auntie Lupe.
Yeah, it made me cry too. I didn't cry because I was reading it, Tiffany, but I agree. So what was it like? I have the pleasure of having this experience with you because you did this in a workshop, right?
Did I tell you that I did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, I had started working on this
You
and
had.
I went to a conference and we did it there.
Mm-hmm.
And we only had like 20 minutes to work on it. And some of the people who shared those, I was like, oh my gosh, these are so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Fun because we got to listen to people, read it in another language, which was really
Oh,
cool.
cool.
Yeah, so this was next.
Go ahead.
No, I was also inspired by when you did this with by Estella's poem.
Yeah, it made me cry.
Yeah.
um, so I was when I mean, I for all the kids, but especially the kids I've known most of their life, it's like, oh, um, and I also did it in a group setting, and I was also for the first time, and I was also blown away by some of the poems, which is what inspired me to do this because I thought, well, this isn't a big ask. Like some people can just write. It's fine with me if you take 20 minutes. Like you don't need to take hours. It's about sharing this part of yourself. And did you find that it was like did it change like the feeling of the place when everyone was sharing their stories?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. And it was like how quickly, I like to get to know people. Like really want to know people.
Me too.
And it was like hearing this, it's like you really got a sense of who they were because you see them at a conference, right? And like it's a very professional setting.
Mm-hmm.
And then they share these like little bits and pieces of their lives. And you're like, oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Super vulnerable quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really incredible. And I love having the format is just brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it asks you to reach into all these different places.
Mm-hmm.
And it manages, I guess you could like try to just tell the same story, but like the way it worked for me, it was like, I didn't just focus on one part, it's all these sort of little pieces of yourself. And that I think is so difficult to access when you're in conversation with someone.
Yeah.
Especially, I think it was last week, especially as we get older, we don't really talk about our childhoods in the same way. Like when you're younger, everyone knows you're from Fresno still, but like, not everyone knows where everyone's from. And I feel like I know you so well, so but I feel like even when we were first friends, I do feel like you are pretty upfront about your family, how much they mean to you, where you're from, in a way that is, I think, very generous.
Mm. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. It makes it easy to be your friend.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No, yeah. We definitely just like talk and get to it. There's people like you'll know them for years, and you're like, I've never even anything about you. Oh, joke. It is a joke because every once in a while I do talk about my brother, and people are like, you have a brother, and I'm like, I do. I talk about my sisters a lot.
True. True.
Actually,
it is a joke that I've heard of a few times, but it is true.
So many times I've been friends with people for years that I bring up my brother. I'm like, yeah, I really do love him. I'm sorry I don't talk about him all the time.
I think because I have brothers, you told me really early on. Like because of the makeup of our families, like because we have some overlap and, broken home.
Yeah.
So those, but I do think about, I have noticed that. Especially since I've heard the joke.
A lot of people don't like that term also, a broken home.
No, they don't. They don't.
But it was as much love that was there. When it was broken without, but with support in other places. It's
Well, and I think
I,
it's a powerful phrase. Like I think that it was a phrase other people used too. Something we heard said about us,
yes, yeah,
um, and used. I mean, it's used. It's weaponized.
yeah.
That
But
somehow you're less, um, or potentially can be less. Especially, I feel like, probably still now. But I'm astonished, and I have shared this with my mother, how many of my friends are married. Because like I growing up, like I mean, especially by the time we got to high school, everyone's parents were divorced. I mean, most people's. And I'm like, wow, in our sort of group, many people are still married. And
yeah,
it's kind of amazing.
yeah, yeah. And I actually had kind of the opposite experience growing up. There was for me, there was a lot of shame
Oh,
around
for sure.
being divorced because of my close friends. It was like where I think maybe one of my friends' parents split up, but um, I mean, there was a handful, but it was still like,
Oh, when I was young, no one was. This was like something that happened over years. When I was young, we were definitely the first people,
yeah, oh
especially from our socioeconomic background.
yeah. Well,
Like, for sure.
right now, I mean, I don't know if that the demographics have changed in that, like, a lot of educated upper middle class people don't really get divorced. I
Not
think,
as much statistically
yeah, yeah.
because they wait longer and I mean, my parents got married. I think they'd known each other for like a few months.
Right, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I mean, my mom married my father. He had 4 children. He was a widower and she adopted those children when she married him. And I
Yeah,
think the whole thinking behind it was like, oh, we don't want the kids to like go through any more like upheaval, so we'll get married. And I think it takes a special kind of person who's like, okay, 4 kids, I'm in,
yeah.
like that.
No.
She was 26.
Oh my. And how old was your oldest brother?
12,
Oh my.
maybe 13. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Um, mhm. So yeah, I knew my husband for years before we got married. And I definitely like both my husband and I are from broken homes. And so we were like, okay, happy marriage and life is not a guarantee. Like we need to really think about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still know people who I feel like maybe because they came from homes that people who were married, that they're just like, oh, you get married and it works itself out. And that is not how either of us felt at all.
Yeah.
Like you cannot take it for granted. Like it's work, it's the best thing. I love it, but it's not like you can just be lazy and like think it's going to work itself out,
Right.
you
Right.
know? So this is a tangent. Any other thoughts on your poem or of like just, did anything surprise you or was it pretty much on brand? You were like, oh yeah, this is or did any pieces?
Very much about my childhood. This isn't what necessarily, I mean, this is formed who I am today, but not necessarily. Like there were parts there's a couple areas of my life where I didn't get to touch on too much, and I didn't really find the place to put them in there. But that's I didn't talk about my siblings in this,
Yeah, that's
who
true.
I'm really close to, and I didn't mention soccer. I didn't know where to put soccer in. That's been like a formative part of my life, playing it and watching it, and it's something that my dad really introduced. So I feel like a connection with my dad around soccer. But yeah, I'm not into spoil the rod, spoil the child. So
Spare the rod, spoil the child. Yeah.
Wrong way. Did I flip it?
I think you said spoil the rod. I don't know.
I do
don't spoil. Just don't do anything with the rod. Just
no,
leave it alone.
If they're bored.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I don't make homemade flour tortillas. Although I wish I have
if you did, Cody would be at your doorstep.
Yeah.
Like, hi. I haven't been over for a while because he is like very much on the case for flour and corn tortillas of any kind.
Yes. Okay. No, I should make a couple years ago. My sister framed. My grandma wrote the recipe like on like a little notepad, and so it's very like splattered with stuff
Yes.
like crossing out. And anyway, it was really.
Yes.
She gave us all. Actually, it was the year my grandma died. She framed it and gave us all my grandma's. My grandma made it every single morning. For her whole adult life. So, but
Wow.
if I make them, I will make sure to give Cody.
I'll just show up. Hi. So yeah, I I loved it.
Oh, well,
I
thank you.
love you. It's a joy to sit and chat with you. Is there anything else that you want to share or talk about? Anything?
No, I love that you're doing this.
It's been
I'm,
really enjoyable.
yeah, I'm excited to hear others. Have you interviewed any children? Not your.
Um, no. I actually I have someone in a couple weeks who's a college student. So she's my first. I would love to have younger people on because I think that how you look at life, like when Gio was on, we were talking about how, all of our teenagers, there was no real melancholy. It was all just like positive.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that probably would, it's certainly not the case now for me. And I'm curious to see how her poem is. And I would love to have different voices. Like I'm always here to hear anyone. But yeah, I would love to have some younger people because I think we do reflect differently. And as we unpack our lives, and I think also, at least for me, having children definitely changed my relationship to my childhood.
Well, I was just, and I don't even work with children, but the way in the workshop that I did this with, it was in like as like a therapeutic intervention,
Mm-hmm.
and wondering like how I don't know, I can see it being really useful for anyone, all ages, but
Yeah, I think anything that kind of takes, at least therapeutically, that with younger people or tentative clients, like I can imagine that having something that sort of takes the like, what are you going through?
yeah,
Out of it, like, what are you feeling? What's going on? Because I think there is, some people don't feel safe.
yeah, yeah.
And I was just recently having a conversation with a friend who had a terrible therapeutic experience. And, every therapist isn't good. And so then when you're the next therapist or the next social worker, how do you repair that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I think oftentimes you can't just be like going right back in, you've got to establish trust and rapport and all that.
totally. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm a fan of the exercise big time, obviously, but I think it is fun to think about different environments to take it into and like how oftentimes people tell me, oh, I'm not a poet, it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's not the purpose. The purpose is to share your story. Everyone has a story. And I think the more that we like know our own stories, the more capable we are of having compassion for other people's stories. And so I hope that doing this like gives people that place in themselves, like my story has power and validity. And then I can then take that same compassion and apply it outwardly.
Yeah.
I hope, because I know that the more I own my own story, the more space I have for others, because I'm not spending my time when I'm listening to other people trying to interject my story,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I definitely used to be more like that. Like, oh, this happened to you. Well, what about me? Like I got to talk about me. Now I'm much better at just listening.
Yeah.
So hopefully we do some of that. I know you're a good listener.
I try. I'm much better when I'm in session.
Because you're getting paid. It's like, okay.
It's like I have to. Yes.
Well, this is what I'm here for. And you realize, I think, too, when you have children, like how I think I had awareness of it as a kid, but like how important a big part of parenting for me is being a witness.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
You're just there.
Yeah.
To listen, to learn the names of their friends, to not say, well, that seems stupid, to just
Oh, I'm having
listen.
time these days at in high school, but
But you've only gone 2 days.
I know it's only 2 days. And I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a big adjustment. And it's just for us to just listen and like, I don't know. It's like having a person in your life who finds you valuable. The relationship is not transactional.
Right. Even though
What?
can't they just say thank you sometimes?
Couldn't the transaction include gratitude? It doesn't have to be like 1-to-1, but just like a little.
Oh, yeah, no.
Just so you know, they think you're wonderful and they tell me so.
Well, thank you.
So I think it often happens that way too. It's like, you know, you can tell how much your kids love you by the way they talk about you, and like that you're a bit of a demigod. It's like, well, my mom does this, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, if your mom does it, then it must be, So obviously they love and admire you.
Oh, I think so. I think so.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
I love and admire you, and I'm not even your kid. So, they do. It's complicated. I mean, and I think that compassion, right? For ourselves, for them, for all they're navigating. And I think especially after COVID, like they just we all got years taken from us, but they got those years. Like when I think of what I was doing in 7th grade and what they were doing it's just like, they're still trying to recalibrate. Like the whole world is. And then also they're balancing all these changes in themselves. And like, what's the world and what's them? And it's a lot.
Yeah. No, I know. It's, they were troopers. My kids were,
They really were. I feel grateful every day. Like I feel like we had a lot of grace during that time. We had a lot of things that went our way.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, any closing thoughts, Miranda?
No, this was fun. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Was it not too nerve-wracking?
No, I was a little, now I'm just a little nervous because I can just sit and talk to you forever. We're on live and I can't just...
Yeah, you got to edit a little. Just a little.
I feel like you're like in front of me just talking. So,
I know that's what's fun about it. I really enjoy meeting people that I've become internet friends with because even though you're not in the same space, it is a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is nice to connect with people in that way. And I know a lot of people do telehealth appointments. I don't know if you do telehealth, but like,
not usually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That has been something that came out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
How there is the potential to be connected with all kinds of people. We are not limited to the people in our vicinity, although I still think it's essential to connect with those people in our lives because they are our neighborhood and our community.
Yeah.
So, well, hugs.
Yes, I may see you soon. I'm actually driving to pick up the kids today. So
okay. I'll see you. Okay.
So much. All right. Bye.
Thank you for coming. Bye.